Hey everyone, I'm Manero here, and in this video, I'm going to show you how I painted this pixel art of Las Meninas in Procreate. So let's jump right into it. In order to achieve this, I'm going to be using the Pixel Art Experience brush set for Procreate. You can find it along with a free mini version for you to try out on my Gumroad page through the link in the description below. I already painted a pixel art version of La Mona Lisa and the Scream, but I didn't make YouTube videos back then, so I wanted to give Las Meninas the same artistic treatment and take you with me through the whole process. Here's the original painting to refresh your memory. My goal is to translate this wonderful painting by Diego Velázquez into a version made entirely in pixel art, using only Procreate and my pixel art brushes. I'm going to be painting in a very small canvas, specifically 150 by 170 pixels, in portrait orientation. If you want to know why my canvas needs to be so small and how these brushes work, make sure to watch my full in-depth tutorial titled How to do Pixel Art in Procreate for more details. Because I want to be as much accurate as I can, I'm drawing a few guiding lines, splitting the canvas in the center, vertically and horizontally, and also dividing the width and height in 3 equal parts. Then using my pixel thin to thick brush, I'm laying down a rough sketch. I mostly want to know how much space each background element and character is going to need, and also the position and proportions between them. I will switch to the 1 pixel size brush anytime I feel like I need an extra bit of precision. Switching between the 1 pixel size brush and the pixel thin to thick brush is something you will see me do constantly throughout this whole painting. Because mentioning it every time would get repetitive rather quickly, remember that you can check this rectangle right here to know what brush I'm using at all times. The nice thing about combining these two brushes is that the 1 pixel size brush will allow me to place specific pixels with high precision, while the pixel thin to thick brush will also allow me to place individual pixels, but also work with bigger strokes to cover larger areas in less time just by applying pressure with the Apple Pencil. Once my sketch is finished, my next step is to separate the different elements of the background in different layers, so that I can alpha lock them and paint inside those shapes without worrying about painting outside. I'm making a separated layer for the ceiling, another layer for each of the 2 walls, and another for the floor. For the door, all the different frames and the lamps in the background, I'm mostly using one single layer. On top of this, I'm going to go ahead and do the same for each of the foreground elements, basically the big frame seen from behind in the left, the human characters, and the dog. At this stage, I'm not too concerned about the colors I'm using, since the most important thing for me is to be able to easily differentiate each shape. Actually, I'm taking good care of the shapes I'm doing. I want them to be as accurate as possible, so that later I only need to focus on defining the colors and shading inside those silhouettes. With everything separated on its own layer, I can begin rendering. Since the characters are going to sit on top of it, I like to start the rendering process with the background, and step by step build the lighting and details from back to front. You can see how my first focus is to render the further wall, the ceiling, and the wall in the right. I also focus first on laying down the main flat colors, which is going to slowly help me build the lighting in the scene. Then I detail the character that is showing up at the door in the back, the door itself, and the frame next to it. For these kind of details, I'm mostly using the 1 pixel size brush, because it will allow me to place very precise pixels as I mentioned earlier. For the other paintings in the wall, since in the pictures I could find of Las Meninas it is almost impossible to see what these are supposed to be, I want to keep them fairly abstract, and for this purpose I'm going to be switching between different dithering brushes and pixel shaders that will allow me to spray out pixels in a more randomized way. Combining various dithering brushes and grabbing colors from the canvas with the eyedropper, I start making transitions between the colors in the background by applying different densities of dithering. It's important for me to be subtle while doing this and not overdo it. I feel like if I add too much dithering everywhere, my pixel art starts to lose some of its personality. The main place where I try to add dithering is where I feel like I need to have softer edges between colors, so that the eye of the viewer can perceive those areas like the colors are blending with each other. With the background basically finished, I can then put my focus on the main elements in the foreground. I start by adjusting the colors for the big frame in the left, and shading it with a combination of flat colors and dithering. I then obscure the shadows in the ground where the characters are making contact, so that they feel more present in the scene. Jumping now to the figures, I start with Velázquez himself, since I feel it is the most interesting character in the original painting for me. I think this is the part where the simplicity of pixel art really shines. I find myself having to decide where exactly to place each individual pixel to achieve the best simplified representation of this person, his likeness, posture, gesture, and even expression. Placing a pixel one more pixel to the left or to the right, up or down, immediately makes a difference on how the character looks. I think pixel art is actually a great exercise to practice for all kinds of artists, even if your goal is not to become a pixel artist at all, because it can teach you how to simplify your shapes and make the best out of them. I'm going to be repeating this very same process for all the characters and the dog, constantly switching between the pixel thin to thick and the 1 pixel size brush, and even adding a little bit of dithering in a couple of spots, mostly to add some texture in the clothing. Sometimes you'll see me play with the curves tool to adjust the colors of a character a little, to make sure that they fit well with the rest of the artwork. Here's a little trick. At the end of my painting process, if I'm not entirely happy with how the general colors look, I can add a layer on top of all the other layers, color fill it with whatever color I feel it should be the dominant in my image. Set the layer to overlay mode, and drop the opacity until it adds this subtle color tint to everything. It is a good way to make all the colors in your painting work together a bit more nicely. And here is the final result. I really hope you liked this video. If you use my brushes and post your art on social media, feel free to use the hashtag Manero brushes so that I can see what you create. I will be extremely happy to share your creations with my audience. Don't forget to subscribe for more art-related videos and give me a thumbs up. Also, make sure to check out my Gumroad page, where you will find the Pixel Art Experience brush set for Procreate and many other sets that I have available. I'm sure something will suit your artistic needs. All the links are in the description below. Okay, thank you for watching. See you next time.